I'm sorry. This would have been completely obvious to me. Before I read into the story, I'll give you the headline. It's a black R&B artist hoped singing for Trump would build a bridge. It derailed her career instead. Chrisette Michele is singing to nearly empty concert halls. She says she's finding a new path to happiness. This is about a woman who decided to sing for a Trump event, and the left wouldn't have it, and it destroyed her career, and she lost opportunity. But I want to point something out before reading directly into this story and just, give you like a, I don't know, just before I say this, think about Count Dankula or Sargon. There are many people who have asserted a political opinion, and they likely can't get work anymore. In Dankula's case, he made a joke, and the media ran him through the mud. And now, these are his words, he said he can't get a regular job. He's too notable for that issue, so he has no choice but to be a YouTuber if he wants to survive. Think about somebody who wants a more mainstream career, like this artist. Yes, if you sing for Trump, your only chance is probably to continue singing for Trump supporters, because the gap between the left and the right is becoming, it can't be mended. And this is what really is really disconcerting to me. It worries me about the future. When we come to a point where products are choosing a side, like Gillette, okay? Like Johnny Walker just came out for the Women's March. We're coming to a point where products are aligned politically and people don't want to cross over. We're creating two different worlds that can only lead us to one thing: complete civil conflict. If a business says there's no point in marketing to the right because they hate us already and they cut you off entirely, they're now catering to only half the demographic. They've accepted that. And a new company will rise up just for the right, and that divide is going to get worse. And eventually there's going to be two literal tribes saying don't trust them, don't sell to them, don't make for them. And then what do you do? But let's see what happened to this woman when she wanted to sing for Trump. Glenside, Pennsylvania, I believe. Chrisette Michele held hands with her band members during a final prayer, posed for a pre-show Instagram photo, and stepped out onto what remains of a career battered by a 5-minute, 18-second association with Donald Trump. The Keswick Theater in the suburb of Philadelphia sits in a region that is the mecca of the neo-soul music that earned Michele a dozen years of fame, a record deal at 23, and a career-validating Grammy. The last time she sang at the Keswick, her manager and husband, Doug Ellison, reminisced nearly all 1,500 seats were filled. But a few days after Christmas, the diehard fans clotted near the stage to hear Michele sing were surrounded by a phalanx of empty seats. It had been 2 years since Michele made what many predicted would be a career-ending decision, singing at one of President Trump's inaugural balls. She accepted the gig against the advice of her fans, former collaborators, and even her husband. She believed the performance would be an opportunity to be a bridge in a fractured nation. And I commend her for that, because we certainly need it. But at this point, imagine it like this. The tribes have fractured off and spread so far, and she wanted to place a bridge in between the two. When she pushed that tree over to create that platform to get to the other side, I'm sorry, the gap was too big and that tree kept falling and you jumped out and you fell with it. And that's where we're headed. I don't know if the bridge can be mended. It's going to take some extreme, I don't even know. I mean, look, the other day we heard that from BuzzFeed, Donald Trump ordered Cohen to lie. People still believe it. BuzzFeed saw no evidence, none. They said as much. They said they didn't see any evidence. They had two sources, and then the special counsel refuted that story. Why do I bring it up? Because there are people who refuse to believe BuzzFeed could be wrong, not because BuzzFeed is credible, because their tribe is so far removed, their worldview has solidified this insanity. What do you think is going to happen if someone is absolutely willing to believe that without evidence, even in defiance of the actual special counsel's statement, this is still true? What do you think happens when that person, they believe all that, then hears you sang for Trump? They're going to say, you must be on the other side. Now, here's the thing. This woman, Chrisette Michele, absolutely could sing for Trump supporters because they're much less likely to hold a grudge of that magnitude. They're probably just going to say, yeah, sure, sing a song, whatever. But it's the deranged left. You know, I got into an argument with my dad. I said, listen, the New York Times, the Washington Post have refuted this. The special counsel has denied the story, and BuzzFeed admits they've seen no evidence, and he says, nope, it's not refuted. They just refuse. It's mind-blowing. But let's read on. Instead, it sent her life into a tailspin. The 36-year-old lost an album distribution deal, and radio stations stopped playing her songs. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I don't think that has anything to do with politics, and endured a miscarriage that she publicly attributed to stress from death threats and a hydrant of criticism. The singer who wrote Strong Black Woman wondered if she should stop singing forever. Was it Trump supporters sending her death threats? No. So who was it who was harassing this woman of color, okay? This singer who did nothing wrong, sending her death threats and stressing her to the point of a miscarriage? Who was it? It wasn't the Trump supporters. No. She reached out an olive branch. It was accepted. She sang. It was the left that cast her into the fires. This is crazy. The callousness, the lack of empathy, and the lack of forgiveness blows my mind. Now Michele is back on stage with a new perspective. Amid the fallout, she told her critics that she is no political genius, but she now recognizes that's irrelevant. In the age of social media and partisan politics, it's impossible to separate the artist from the person. Her music, she acknowledges, can't exist in a cultural vacuum. While I felt like people took so much away from me in those 2 years, I'm more grateful for finally having the time to look at it's a quote. Look at the last 12 years since she released her first album, Michele said. And I think that is the bright side. I want people to know that it's okay to expect more from me. While trying to rebuild her career, Michele is mentoring other Black women and focusing on her mental health. And she's using her social media platforms to call on followers to vote. On November 6th, we get the opportunity to change the narrative and rebalance the scale. She wrote before the midterm elections. Below, a 2016 photo of her at the White House with the Obamas. Your voice matters, my voice matters. She still feels the sting of former fans who saw themselves in her music, then accused her of selling her blackness to a presidential candidate who, while on the campaign trail, repeatedly cast Black Americans as impoverished people living in hellholes and dependent on food stamps. This is a really, really important point that I want to bring up. I believe that's kind of an exaggeration, Washington Post. There was a statement Trump made about inner city youth being unemployed. PolitiFact said that Trump's statement was mostly false. Bernie Sanders said nearly the exact same thing verbatim. Previously, Trump was essentially quoting Bernie, and they said it was mostly true. Because what quantifies the amount of truth? And so this is what we see. The media produces primarily negative stories about Trump and views everything he says in a negative light. You know, even when it's partially true, they'll give Bernie the benefit of the doubt, not Trump. So this clearly is coming from critics who just don't like Trump, period. And what can you expect from that? I certainly, I don't even want to get into it. The point is, I'm sick and tired of the left pushing me into a corner where I have to actually defend the guy, right? Can I just be upset that Trump says crude and crass things, okay? Can I accept when he does things that are good and still say I just generally don't like the guy? I don't like him for cultural reasons. There's some policy things I disagree with him on. But I think when it comes to, like foreign policy, he's slowly doing a better job. I disagree with the Syria stuff, the Yemen raids, but pulling troops out of Afghanistan and Syria and the North Korea stuff, it's like, all right, you get that one. But when it comes to whether or not you like a person, it doesn't have to be about the effectiveness of their job, right? People don't like each other. Like, you can be the best, coal miner on the planet, and if you're a dick, I'm still not going to like you, right? But I can separate the politics from the person and recognize that sometimes there's a guy I don't really like because I think he's a crude person doing something that's kind of a good thing. The point is, people need to chill out. But this story is a perfect example of how insane our culture war, our political battle has gotten. And we can see it in what happened yesterday with BuzzFeed, to bring it up again. I mean, it's a big story. But it was, MSNBC, I think, said impeach like 200 times. There's a video my brother posted on Facebook from SuperDocs, I tweeted it, where from February 2017, like the day Trump gets elected, nonstop media coverage saying this is the end, every single month for the past 2 years. The media just saying it's over, Trump loses, Trump's going to lose now, it's finished for Trump, and it's like, dude, at what point are you going to say, listen, you guys are crazy. This is crazy. Let the damn woman perform. Just because she's a singer doesn't mean she endorses anyone's politics. People just like hearing songs. I covered one story about sales, and I think they quoted something about Michael Jordan. It was the Gillette story. Michael Jordan says he doesn't want to get political because conservatives buy shoes too. Right, what does selling shoes have to do with whether or not you're on someone's side? There are people who want to make everything so political, and that's a mistake. That can only lead us to a bad situation, to pain and suffering. But like the story I just covered, I guess it's the left that doesn't mind being unhappy because they're constantly looking for things to be outraged about. Where are the people on the left who enjoy having a laugh? Who say, look, we can do better, we can make the world a better place, but still laugh at the absurdity of Trump's, when Trump memes happen. It's funny. They don't. They freak out. They say part of her worries it might be too late. As legions of fans have refused to come back, she realizes that a footnote of her career, or perhaps its epitaph, will be her connection to a man she didn't vote for, whose rhetoric she disdains, and whom she has never even met in person. Is this the world we have to live in, that a woman who just wants to perform for a bunch of people is maligned by fans in the press, and her career is ended simply because she stood up on stage and sang some songs? It's not a world I want to live in, and this is mostly where my criticism comes from. I take issue with basically most conservative political positions. Like, I don't agree with them. But I have no problem sitting down with someone and debating. And in fact, I'd love to debate conservatives. I love to say no. Like, when I was at Mythicist, the speaking event in Milwaukee, I debated a ton of conservatives on why they're wrong, why I'm in favor of regulation in certain sectors, why I'm in favor of taxation, why I don't believe taxation is theft, to an extent. I know that one's going to trigger a bunch of people who are going to get angry about that, but the point is, these conversations are fun. I enjoy them. I enjoy being challenged. I enjoy challenging others in the political context. These people don't want to do that. They just want to set everything on fire and kick you out. Well, that's not fun at all. That's terrifying. I want and encourage that political debate. I look forward. I think it's fantastic that we will have a Republican stand up, point to a Democrat, and say, your economic policy plans don't make sense. We can't allocate X, Y, and Z, and then have to say, you have no idea. Have you even read this report? And I'm like, this is fascinating stuff. That's why I like Dave Rubin's show, right? When Dave has, like, here's what you got to do with Dave Rubin. Approach him in good faith. There are so many people on the left who are just troll him all day, and then they're angry he won't platform them. It's like, dude, please. Brett Weinstein, Eric Weinstein, they're progressives. It is amazing watching them have a discussion with Ben Shapiro and Dave. I'm like, oh, this is really fascinating stuff. That's what I love about his show. I love seeing those challenges. It's fascinating. And this is a world that I don't want to live in. When the other one I'm talking about, where they want to basically burn someone at the stake because they dared perform music for other people of other political opinions. It's just crazy, you know? So anyway, I got another video coming up in a few minutes that kind of touches on this issue, so we'll check that one out.